Thank you for viewing this RFID Community Connect video from AIM. AIM is an industry association for automatic identification technologies. It's not only RFID, but barcoding, IoT, or any other technologies that automatically identify and capture data. If you want to learn more about AIM, go to aimglobal.org or reach out to us to set up a one-on-one call where we can tell you a little bit more about how AIM can benefit your business.
RFID in retail. We will be having Duane Roebuck from BlueStar. He will be leading this panel discussion. We also have Bennett from Positive Technology and Brandon Macaulay from Mobile Insight as well. So welcome, gentlemen. And Duane, if you want to take things away.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, everyone who's in attendance. I've asked two of our partners to join me on this, as you know, we like to speak briefly regarding not just RFID, but also AI as it relates to retail and provide real world scenarios. Both of these guys have real world deployments, and both of them, you know, are being utilized by some big brands that you may be aware of. We're not going to speak to it, but what I hope to do is, anyone who's had the challenges that I have in terms of, working with companies that leverage AI, for example, a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to present two people who have, as I said, real world scenarios, real world deployments, and they're also looking for partners. So as we talk, if there's anything of interest, if you have any questions, please feel free to send it to us. I'd like to answer as many questions from the crowd as possible, but we have some already set up. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Brett and ask, what are the factors that have driven retailers to seriously evaluate RFID-enabled self-checkout today versus even 3 to 5 years ago?
Thanks, Duane, and thanks for this opportunity to get together. I am going to also kind of just set the stage a little bit. Our client base is very much a high-speed, high-volume customer. So we do a lot in professional sports, collegiate sports, events, concerts, races, horse races, golf events, those kind of things. So a lot of my answers will come, kind of related to this customer base. A few years ago, RFID, in most retailers' minds, was more of a back of house kind of inventory tool or a supply chain inventory tool. But because of the macroeconomic pressures that we've seen, and of course, the maturity of the technology and availability of various parts of the technology, it's really come to the front end now, to the point of sale and beyond. And I'll talk about the beyond part probably a little bit later. But there's kind of three main factors that have driven our retailers, our customer base, to RFID. And number one, of course, cost of tags and flexibility / availability of diverse tagging options. We've seen metal, we've seen liquid, we've seen all of these options come available, and we've talked about them over the last couple of days. And that has made a huge difference, and all of those coming down in cost. Of course, most of our retailers have products that are ranged from clothing through beer, wine, liquor, through metal and wood and all kinds of things. So that's tremendous. The other is them realizing that speed and accuracy at the self-checkout has kind of not been what they expected. In other words, if someone walked up and scanned a barcode one at a time, it's a customer, they're standing there, they've never been trained, that takes a long time. So lines, add up. But RFID solves that. And they recognize that because now they can drop all their items into one bin, everything's scanned, boom, they hit their payment and away they go. So that's huge. And then lastly, filling that labor gap. Retailers have had a very difficult time hiring, especially since 2020 during the pandemic. From then on, it's been a really difficult time. And being able to deploy more self-checkout because they're efficient, because they're effective, because they're accurate has been a game changer. And they've recognized that.
And I know myself from talking to some of our local professional sports organizations. I was pretty shocked when I went in there, and they've seen the operational efficiencies that RFID tags have done. Your Nikes, your Adidas, those guys come with RFID tags. And during the downtime, they have their employees tagging everything else that doesn't come. And so, one of my questions to the GM was, where's the benefit in that? And he told me, he said, what we want to do is we want to move people out of low margin areas and into high margin areas as fast as possible. And they want to get you out of the pro store and to the concession stands, where they make the money and make more margin.
Absolutely. And, we've seen, just on that note, we've seen 70% plus reductions in self-checkout times. So those lines that were really long are very short, and they can deploy more self-checkout lanes, further reducing and getting people through the lines. And then of course we can talk about other efficiencies later, but you're right, Duane, they want to get people in and out as quick as possible. And not just to get them to concessions, but also, it's halftime. That's the time they have. They have, a very short period of time to sell everything they need, or between innings, or whatever. So yeah, good point.
So Brandon, tell these guys a little bit about Mobile Insight, and then also tell them, explain to them why retailers are increasingly looking at AI powered kiosks as part of their in-store experience.
Yeah, thanks for having it, and Brett, great to see you again as well. So Mobile Insight, our flagship product is called Viva, and Viva is a conversational AI digital labor expert. We like to use the term digital labor because it doesn't just have one task. Could be a product expert, but could also be booking appointments. We play very heavily in the bricks and mortar retail space with the top retailers that you would recognize logos of very quickly, but also branch out into hospitality, QSR, and things of that nature. In terms of why retailers are increasingly looking at AI powered kiosks, I think it goes off of Brett's point of what I like to call sort of the perfect storm that's hitting retail. One point being there's severe labor shortages, compressed margins, and there's also a change in shopper behavior where they're expecting the online level of convenience in those brick and mortar aisles as well, and really turning towards that AI powered kiosk sort of has three main benefits that I'll go through. So one would be your ability to scale product expertise. So kiosks are able to handle deep, complex product data so that floor staff don't have to remember thousands of SKUs or different products. The second, which I think is very powerful, and we're just starting to see the benefits of it, is the capture of in-store data. And so, very easy to track all of that online, but as soon as somebody steps through the front door, that information's lost. And so by deploying a kiosk, you're able to track, what people are searching for, comparing, and asking questions about, and able to capture that data to sort of improve that in-store experience. And then lastly, going back to the sort of the labor shortage point is, protecting the operating margins of retailers and QSR. So automating routine tasks and questions. Let's the in-store teams focus on high value sales or high value activities. So from a 30,000-foot view, that's sort of the trends that we're seeing in the market and a reason for a lot of our engagements today.
And I know from experience with kiosks, there's a percentage of the population that would quite honestly prefer dealing with a kiosk versus a human. Are you guys seeing that across your deployments, Brandon?
Yes, I think there's a bit of a split. I think there's a group of the population that definitely prefers having conversations with technology. One is there's a lack of, and this is sort of odd consumer behavior, but there's a lack of embarrassment that goes into it. Hey, I don't know something, and I don't want to look like an idiot in front of somebody else. Hey, I can ask a kiosk that won't judge me. But there is another section of the population that does not want to engage with kiosks, or at least the historical view of kiosks. And so that's where the conversational AI comes in, not just from a text perspective, but from a voice enabled perspective. You're having a real life conversation. You're not having to deal with filters. Ask questions about products, services. It can understand context, ask qualifying questions to then get you the answer. And so we're sort of bridging that gap between people who really don't want to talk to a human and people who really only want to talk to a human by bringing the best of both experiences together to give that human-like experience delivered via technology.
Cool. So Brett, my next one for you is going to be kind of like a two-part question here. From a operational perspective, what are the challenges that push retailers or are pushing retailers towards RFID based checkout? And from the customer's perspective, from your customer's perspective, what does that ideal self-checkout experience look like?
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of factors, both, and I'll bring up a few from the point of sale side, from the self-checkout, as well as man checkout. So, maybe not the slow lane, but the human lane. And then maybe bring in a little bit of what we've seen resulting from implementing RFID that they didn't expect. So the operational challenges we've talked about a little bit: long lines, inventory shrink was big, right? Especially at the self-checkout. And basically what they were seeing was where they had to have barcodes being scanned one at a time. Anytime a barcode tag was missing or damaged to where it couldn't be scanned, it probably wouldn't be scanned, yet the item would go in the bag and out the door. So there was shrink happening. And then of course the concealment factor where people might have a high ticket item and they scan all of the items that are low ticket, but that high ticket item just kind of goes in the bag without being scanned. And so they recognize that along with the long lines, and RFID handles both of those, right? In all of our setups for professional sports, concerts, and so forth, we either have a bin next to the self-checkout or a target, basically a label on top of the counter where they're just going to set their entire bag of whatever they've picked up off the floor. They set it on there, they set it in the bin, and everything's immediately scanned. Nothing is missed. Of course, then they tap the payment and they're out the door, solving both of those issues. And we've seen tremendous uptake on all of those. Inventory accuracy, is at 99% now versus 65% with traditional self-checkout and traditional barcoded items. So those are huge. And of course, that also increases revenue, which we can talk about a little bit more later. One of the other things that they recognized, and AI comes into this as well, is physical inventory and inventory movement. So imagine a stadium with 40 different kiosks on various different floors and a flagship store. With RFID and more accurate physical inventories, more quickly done physical inventories, they're able to use AI to determine, all right, what products are selling, where are they selling, and how do I move that product from other locations within the stadium to the places it's selling so that I can maximize my sales during halftime or during blowout after the game or the event. So that has been huge. Now, your second question, Duane, was from a customer's perspective, what are we seeing that their ideal checkout experience is? I will preface that a lot of our customers have either a wallet or a loyalty app that they use. You've probably seen that if you've gone to a lot of professional sports games recently. They'll have their own app. It has your ticket and so forth and so on. So they have a way to pay on their device. So I think most customers, what they're now expecting is go in, pick anything off the counters that they want, a hat, a jersey, a couple of trinkets, put them in a bag, set them on the counter, set them in a bin, use their app to quickly pay with NFC and walk out the door. It's a literal less than 10-second transaction. And that's what we're experiencing now. And I think that's their ideal situation.
Oh, so with the last few minutes that we have remaining, Brandon, as quickly as possible, can you explain to the audience how kiosks can help retailers create a more personalized shopping experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the entire goal from the customer perspective. Brett was just mentioning, centralized applications. So we have the ability to embed inside of existing loyalty apps. But that experience comes with a lot of background data that we can bring into the conversation. So an example of that would be, capturing real time, intent versus just looking at past history. So traditionally, personalization relied on old, perhaps lagging data. AI kiosks, look at active intent and what the customer is looking at and comparing right now. The other thing that we like to think about too is contextual incentives. Excuse me. We're able to utilize AI to detect a high value buyer, hesitating between two premium items, and it can dynamically surface a tailored loyalty program promotion to close out that sale. I'm just looking at time. There are some other benefits too, but I think those are the top two that I'll talk about just based off of the time that we have.
Well, I think we've come to the end of our time.